The man everyone was watching only had eyes for someone no one noticed. At Manhattan's most luxurious hotel, crystal lights shimmered over dazzling gowns, chilled champagne, and conversations meant to flex status. Billionaire Julian Wolfe entered like an uncrowned king. The crowd shifted around him. Every move he made caused someone to adjust their stance or fix their smile. Meanwhile, at the VIP entrance, a woman in a simple black dress was being stopped. "Ma'am, this area is for official guests only," the guard said, not even giving her a second glance. She simply nodded. No protest, no shame. Across the ballroom, Julian paused. His gaze drifted from the polished socialites and landed on her. If you've ever felt like you were overlooked just because you didn't try to impress anyone, stay with us. This is a story that might just make you believe in justice and real love again. Julian Wolfe, 34, a man who could raise $1 billion with a single nod. He needed no introduction. His face had graced the covers of Forbes, Time, and everything in between. His name was tied to AI, aerospace, healthcare, the industries reshaping the world. Tonight, he showed up as always, sharp, composed, untouchable. Women gravitated toward him. The crowd responded to every subtle movement he made, but his eyes never lingered on any of them. They moved over each face like he'd seen this setup before. He smiled, on cue, at the right angle, but the smile never reached his eyes. The world was doing everything to get into Julian Wolfe's orbit. He just wasn't sure he wanted anyone in it anymore. Amara Ellis appeared at the edge of the frame, where the spotlight didn't reach. She adjusted her camera lens, leaned over to help a server reposition a tray of glasses. No one looked at her, and she didn't need them to. Her black dress was loose-fitting, unglamorous. Her hair was neatly tied back. No lipstick, no heels. Just a pair of observant eyes and hands that never stopped moving. In a room full of people performing, she was the only one being real. No one knew her name. No one saw her walk in. But if you looked close enough, you'd see something different. Amara didn't want to be in the picture. She was there to make it. 3 women entered like they belonged. Lana Reeve, 3 million followers, every step choreographed for the perfect shot. Her champagne-colored gown hugged every curve. Her smile, measured. Her glance at Julian, like she already knew the outcome. Tessa Quinn, the founder of a behavioral data startup. She didn't just dress to impress. She spoke to convert. Every sentence was strategy. Every touch was a calculated signal. Then came Victoria Hale, carrying a last name that needed no introduction. She didn't have to do much. Just one dismissive glance from her said everything. None of them were used to being ignored. They knew the rules of this game. And tonight, one of them was supposed to win. They just hadn't accounted for the woman, who wasn't playing at all. Julian Wolfe always knew when someone was trying to catch his attention. From the flick of a wrist while holding a glass to the exaggerated laugh at something that wasn't funny. But this time, what caught his eye was someone not looking at him at all. Across the room, Amara was kneeling, quietly wiping up a spilled drink for an older waiter. No camera, no spotlight, no one watching. She finished, nodded politely, and walked away, as if it meant nothing. Julian watched, not with judgment, but with something he hadn't felt in a long time, genuine curiosity. For the first time all night, he forgot he was the center of attention, because she had never once looked at him like he was. Julian wasn't the kind of man who got turned down. As he stepped closer, the crowd instinctively parted, leaving a small space between him and her. "Excuse me," he said gently. "May I buy you a drink?" Amara looked up. Their eyes met for barely a second. She smiled, polite, not cold, not flustered. "Thank you, but I'm working." No offense, no attitude, no flirtation, just clarity, and a boundary. Julian froze for a beat. He wasn't used to silence like this. She walked away like nothing had happened. And maybe to her, it hadn't. But to him, it was the first time someone had walked past him, needing absolutely nothing. After the gala, Julian skimmed last week's PR funding reports, a routine habit, glancing at the small projects they'd rejected. One name stopped him. Refocus. Amara Ellis. A youth photography project based in Harlem. Below it, the PR team's note read, "Not aligned with brand positioning. Low media appeal. Recommend no outreach." Julian paused. Not because of the report, but because now he could picture the face behind that name. The woman stopped at the VIP entrance. The one who turned him down. the one his company had dismissed because she didn't fit into the brand's carefully curated mold. Maybe not everyone's rejected because they're not good enough. Sometimes they're just not shiny enough to be seen. Lana Reeve never let an opportunity slip by. She timed it perfectly, just as Julian descended the marble steps near the bar. A subtle misstep. Her glass tipped. "Oh," she gasped, smiling. "So clumsy of me." Her silk gown now soaked on one side. The lighting hit it just right. Her face, a perfect blend of shock and beauty, camera-ready. Julian handed her a napkin. Polite, a short nod. Nothing more. He didn't ask her name, didn't ask if she was all right. He simply walked away, like he'd seen this scene 100 times. From a distance, Lana watched him go. Her eyes flickered. Then she raised her phone for a quick selfie of their fated encounter. What do you think? Was Lana trying too hard, or just playing by the rules of this world? Tessa Quinn didn't use smiles to make an impression. She used data. "Did you know," she began, approaching Julian, "that 70% of current AI platforms lack emotional pattern recognition?" She didn't wait for a reply. "We're developing a system that can read moods through eye movement. Not flashy, just useful." Her voice was steady, confident, her eyes unwavering. A soft brush of her hand against his elbow, just enough to register. Julian nodded, courteous, still courteous, but his mind wasn't with her. She continued, each sentence perfectly packaged. Right keywords, right insights. Only one thing missing. Real feeling. Victoria Hale didn't have to speak loudly to cut someone down. Standing among her circle, wine glass in hand, her eyes settled on Amara, who was crouched, adjusting the lighting for a photo setup. Then came the whisper, just loud enough for others to catch. "She looks like a janitor." A soft chuckle followed. Not from humor, but from agreement. Victoria sipped her wine, eyes never leaving Amara. She didn't know the woman's name, didn't care to. To her, someone without a pedigree, wearing an off-season dress in the wrong shoes, had no reason to exist in this room, and certainly no reason to be seen by Julian Wolfe. The sound of breaking glass wasn't loud, but in a room that quiet it rang out like an alarm. A tray of glasses hit the floor near the center of the hall. Wine splashed across the marble. The elderly waiter stepped back, hands trembling, eyes wide with panic. People glanced and moved on. No one stopped. No one bent down. Except Amara. She walked over quickly. No words. Just knelt, silently picking up each shard with her bare hands. Light from the chandelier reflected off the spilled liquid, casting shadows of the two figures, still unnoticed. No cameras turned their way. No one snapped a photo. And maybe that's why. The moment felt real. Just a small act. But in a room full of performers, she was the only one truly alive. As Amara gathered the last of the glass into the tray, the elderly waiter gently touched her hand. "Thank you, young lady," he whispered, voice low and worn. She looked up. Their eyes met for just a second. His weary, hers calm. He gave a soft smile. Sad, but not bitter. "They look down at us until they need our soul." Amara didn't respond. Just met his gaze, then gave a quiet nod. No one in the room heard that line, but if anyone had stood nearby, they would have felt it, like something they'd always known. Not because it was sharp, but because it was true. That line wasn't just for him. It was a message for everyone who's ever been looked through, when they were, in fact, the very soul of the room. Julian Wolfe was used to everything going his way, but now he stood still in a crowded room, unable to hear a single voice. His eyes were fixed on a woman in the corner, kneeling to clean the floor for an elderly waiter. No cameras, no spotlight, no stage, just her. Wet hands, steady eyes, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Julian didn't know why his heart skipped a beat. Not because the act was grand, but because in a world where everyone tries so hard to be special, she became different by not trying at all. For the first time that night, Julian felt uncertain. Not because she wanted his attention, but because she was the first person who clearly didn't care whether he looked or not. Amara moved near the main stage, adjusting the lighting. Camera in hand, eyes scanning for reflection points, when an arm blocked her path. "Ma'am, restricted area," the guard said. His tone wasn't harsh, but the judgment in his eyes was obvious. She stopped. Not surprised. No reaction. Just a slow breath. Her grip on the camera tightened, then eased. This time, Julian was nearby. He saw everything. Not from a distance, not from hearsay. With his own eyes, in real time. He saw the guard's gaze, and he saw the quiet recognition in Amara's face, the kind of silence that only comes from someone used to being stopped, simply for not wearing the right kind of outfit, to be allowed in a room. Before Amara could turn away, a low, steady voice spoke from behind her. "It's all right. She's with me." The guard turned. His posture shifted the moment he recognized the speaker, Julian Wolfe, the man every guest here wanted to be near, the man the guard assumed only belonged on the velvet side of the rope. "I'm sorry, Mr. Wolfe, I didn't know," Julian cut in, voice calm but firm. "If someone has to leave here just because they don't look like everyone else, then maybe it should be me." No one spoke. No one dared. Amara stood still. She didn't look at him, didn't smile. She nodded once, then walked forward, as if she would have done it either way, with or without his permission. Across the room, 3 pairs of eyes locked. No words needed. Lana spoke first. She raised her chin, gesturing toward Amara. "She's definitely filming something, probably trying to stir drama for attention." Tessa scoffed. "Or pitching some personal project to the press. Run into Julian, act humble, classic tactic." Victoria said nothing, just sipped her wine and added, like closing a case, "She doesn't look like an invited guest, more like someone with an agenda." Their voices weren't loud, but just loud enough for others nearby to hear, and suddenly people were looking at Amara differently. None of the 3 mentioned her name. They didn't have to, because all it takes is planting the right kind of doubt, to bend the truth into whatever you want it to be. As Amara passed a line of dinner tables, Victoria's voice rang out. This time, not a whisper. "People like her should know their place." The words dropped like a stone into a room full of music and laughter. A few people turned. Others pretended not to hear, but no one denied it happened. Amara stopped. Didn't turn around, didn't react, just paused. One breath held tight. No one stepped in. No one told Victoria she'd gone too far, because in rooms like these, people don't defend those who don't belong. They stay silent, to protect their seat. And Amara? She stood still, and like always, chose not to fight. She remained there, back straight, eyes ahead, as if nothing had just been said, but her hands clenched slightly, and her eyes began to glisten. No tears, no confrontation, just a silence so heavy it made others uncomfortable, even though she never asked anyone to carry it. For a moment, the room seemed to slow down, and then she turned. Didn't run, didn't lower her head, just quietly walked to the corner, picked up her camera, and got back to work, as if her dignity had never been torn, as if she needed no one to defend her and nothing left to prove. Because only the truly strong choose to stand tall, quietly, when the world tries to push them out of where they already belong. Julian was done watching from the sidelines. He walked straight toward the group that had laughed at someone else's pain. His voice was low, clear, no need to raise it, and yet the entire section went still. "You don't need to do anything more," he said. His gaze passed over Lana, then Tessa, then rested on Victoria. "Because you've already exposed yourselves by how you treat people." No one answered right away. Lana blinked. Tessa shifted slightly. Victoria stayed frozen, lips pressed tight. Julian's tone remained calm, but every word hit colder than a public accusation. Someone was insulted, but the ones who should feel ashamed are the people standing proudly in a crowd thinking no one sees who they really are. Have you ever seen someone humiliated in public and wished someone would speak up? In that moment, "Who were you in the room?" Julian turned to Lana. His tone wasn't harsh, but it didn't flinch. "Lana," he said her name softly, like someone who once knew her. "You know how to pose. You know which light makes your face look its best. You know exactly what people want to hear." She held her smile, but this time it sat frozen on her lips. Julian tilted his head, voice dropping lower. "But the thing about playing a role for too long," he paused, just one beat, then continued, "is that you start to forget who you really are." No one laughed. No one responded. Even Lana didn't smile, because for the first time that evening she realized not all lights are meant to flatter. Some are meant to reveal. Julian turned to Tessa. She had stepped back, but not far enough to escape the moment. "Tessa," he said calmly, "your idea is solid. Your market choice is smart. You know how to get people to invest." Tessa offered a small smile, but it didn't quite land. "But the thing is," Julian continued, eyes steady on hers, "a good startup doesn't cover for a bad character." Nothing more needed to be said. Tessa knew exactly what he meant. Not her pitch deck, not her growth data, but the way she belittled others when there was no gain, and the eyes in the room no longer looked at her as a promising founder, but as someone who just lost the only thing truly worth keeping: respect for others. Julian stopped in front of Victoria, the only one still holding her chin high like she was above it all. "Victoria Hale," he said, her full name, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. "Your family can buy seats of honor at any gala. Your name's on half the buildings in Manhattan." Victoria smirked, like that praise was expected, but Julian didn't pause for pride. "But a noble name can't rescue an empty heart." The words dropped like a silent blade. Her expression didn't shift immediately, but her eyes wavered, because for the first time she realized status doesn't shield you from truth, especially when that truth is spoken by someone the entire room now listens to, not because of power, but because of principle. No one said anything. Music still played faintly in the distance, but the room had changed. It was no longer a gala. It was a moment of truth, and everyone could feel it. Julian stepped back, and then every eye turned to Amara. Not as the event staff, not the photographer, not the one who doesn't belong. They looked at her as the center of something hard to define, but impossible to ignore. Not because she spoke up, not because she created a stage, but because while everyone else tried to be seen, she became the one who made the whole room stop and truly look. She hadn't changed, only their perception had. Julian walked slowly toward Amara. No one interfered. No one dared interrupt. He stopped at a respectful distance. "Amara." He said her name for the first time, not with curiosity, but with respect. "There's something I need to say, in front of everyone here." She looked at him, calm, but not easy. "I was wrong," Julian said. His voice wasn't soft, but it was honest. "I thought I knew how to recognize value, how to choose people, how to see worth." He paused, his gaze steady. "But tonight, I realized I never truly saw." A brief silence. "And if you'll allow me, I'd like to start again, as someone who knows he was wrong, not because you need me, but because I need to learn how to see a person the right way." Amara held his gaze for a few moments. She didn't flinch. She didn't rush. She took a slow breath, as if weighing both herself and the man standing in front of her. The man standing here. Her voice wasn't loud, but every word was clear and full of meaning. "Doesn't look like the one I've seen on the cover of Forbes." The sentence was gentle, but shifted the entire dynamic between them. Julian paused. No reaction. Just listening. He's not wearing armor, not cloaked in reputation, not seeking admiration. She lifted her eyes, steady and kind. "And if this is your real self, then maybe, for the first time, I need to take another look too." In a night full of performances, she offered something no money could buy: the chance to be real. 6 months later. The third floor of a small Brooklyn gallery was glowing with warm light. White-framed photos hung evenly, each one a raw, honest moment. No filters, no retouching, no pose. The exhibit's name, Refocus. A young, brown-skinned boy held a camera with both hands, smiling wide. A curly-haired girl laughed on the steps, shading her eyes with a sketchbook. One photo showed Amara herself, half her face in light, half in shadow. Unedited. In the center, the guests stood in silence. No whispers. They weren't talking. They were feeling. And, in the corner, Julian stood beside a group of kids from the mentorship program. No speeches, no spotlight, just quietly observing every photo, like someone relearning how to see people without bias. Julian didn't take the stage. No ribbon cutting. He stood quietly in a corner, hands in his pockets, just another guest. No one recognized him at first, and that was exactly how he wanted it. His eyes paused on a photo. Amara, kneeling, handing a camera to a young girl. The girl's hand trembled slightly, but her eyes lit up. Julian's mouth curved, just slightly. Not the kind of smile made for press, but the kind that happens when you witness something good growing, without your name on it. When a photographer spotted him and started walking over, Julian simply shook his head. "I'm not here to be captured," he said. "She's the one who creates light." And then he turned back to the photo, where for the first time he felt proud, without needing to be seen. Karma doesn't knock. It shows up as a leaked email, a shared clip, a whisper louder than any PR campaign. Lana, the once queen of social media, was now the face of curated cruelty. A video from gala night surfaced. No filters, just her mocking eyes and hollow laugh. Brands dropped her. Followers vanished. Tessa, her startup dissolved. Investors pulled out after witnessing her off-camera attitude. She had vision, but vision can't save someone who doesn't value people. Victoria, her name faded from her family's elite event lists. The line, "She should know her place," was quoted in a viral podcast on classism. Her relatives said nothing, and that silence cut deeper than any rebuke. No one took them down. They simply revealed themselves at the worst possible time. No photographers, no flowers, no applause, just a quiet afternoon in the back room of the Refocus exhibit. Amara was realigning a few tilted frames. Julian walked in silently. He placed a small box next to her sketchbook, where she still drafted every concept by hand. She turned, surprised, but his eyes were steady. "It's not because this is the right moment," he said. "It's because you're the right person." Amara opened the box. Inside, a simple silver ring, engraved delicately with the words, "See beyond the frame." She didn't cry, didn't nod right away. She just held his hand gently. No witnesses, no grand gestures, because real love doesn't need a spotlight. It only needs the right person, the right values, and the right silence. Maybe you don't shine in a noisy room. Maybe you're not good at pretending or pleasing the crowd. Maybe you've been overlooked, just because you never tried to impress. But if Amara's story speaks to you, if you've ever chosen to live with integrity instead of looking perfect, comment, "I am Amara." Because this world doesn't need more celebrities. It needs more people who are real, the ones who don't seek the spotlight, but become the light in the eyes of someone worth seeing. If you believe kindness matters, if you believe true love still exists, like this video, share it with someone who's ever felt invisible, and don't forget to subscribe, because there are more stories to come, for those who choose to be themselves, even when no one's watching.